To the channel. Today we are doing a review of the new Cleveland RTZ wedge. Is this a solution to all your short game woes? I don't know. Let's go check it out. So the first thing we want to talk about is this new Z alloy from Cleveland Golf. What they've done is they were looking for something, a new type of metal that they could use that would kind of set them apart and had some benefits and features that they were kind of looking for. So what they were kind of looking for was something that would allow them to give a softer feel, which this new Z alloy does. It is softer than the traditional 8620 steel that you find in a lot of wedges. The other thing that it does is they were looking for something that you could have a raw face on, something that didn't quite rust as much. So they got the Z alloy that is rust resistant while still giving the anti-glare properties of a raw wedge. What they found is that as you start to increase the amount of rust on a face, despite what many people think, it actually does more harm than it does good. It doesn't increase the spin. It actually lowers it. So the raw wedge is one of the most popular wedges on the tour because it reduces that glare. But with that comes the loss of spin and the loss of durability that comes from the rust. So they created this metal called Z alloy that does everything that it wanted to do. Another benefit for Cleveland is they see that it is actually a lighter metal. So that allows them a few grams to kind of move around the weight. And one of the things that you find when it comes to clubs is the fact that you're trying to move a little bit of weight here and there, and that's going to provide a ton of forgiveness. Now, with wedges, you want to pull it from the hosel and you want to move it more towards the toe a little bit. Why do you want to do that? Well, with a long hosel, what ends up happening is the weight is more towards the heel. And so if you can move a few grams out towards the toe, the sweet spot actually moves from the heel a little bit more towards the center of the face. And obviously, that's what everybody is going for here. Now, despite it not saying Zipcore on it anymore, this club still does feature the Zipcore technology that Cleveland has done a really good job of marketing and using in the last probably 6 series of clubs. If we're being honest, they've had them on their clubs for almost 10 years now. What is Zipcore? Zipcore basically takes some of the metal here, takes some of this metal, and it replaces it with polymer so that we can also move the center of gravity away from the heel where it is on a lot of wedges, and we move it more towards the middle in the sweet spot where you want to actually hit the club. If you look at a lot of wedges, it's actually a thing that a lot of manufacturers have to deal with, is getting the proper weighting of the club, getting the sweet spot of the club, the center of gravity, in the middle on a wedge, because you have such a long hosel here, there's a lot of weight in here. So Zipcore was designed to replace some of that metal so that we can move it a little bit more into the center. Well, as much as I love talking about golf equipment, obviously, I'd rather go hit it. So let's go take this thing to the simulator, see how it goes, see what we like, what we don't like about it. And then we're also gonna get it around the green, see how it performs going into greens, chipping, pitch shots, all of that. So enough talk, let's go hit it. Shots just to kind of warm up. Overall, solid so far. So let's actually talk about the club in and of itself. So first thing is how much I love the shape of this head. The head looks really, really good. It's very, very traditional shaped, which you can kind of expect considering it is a Cleveland wedge. Cleveland's always kind of had that same shape, that more traditional wedge shape. With the Opus wedges that I reviewed a couple of months ago, just didn't really like the shape of them. They just were a little rounded for my taste. This has a little bit more square appearance to it, it seems. So just kind of initial look, really like that. The other thing is this new Z alloy that Cleveland's promoting, they say is rust resistant, which is fine. But I will say the Tour Rack Raw doesn't look very raw, if we're being honest with one another. It's almost like a tour satin, like a
a flat satin, not a raw look, but not going to produce much glare. I do like it. So let's see how it performs and how it feels. One felt a little crispy. Didn't feel kind of thin, kind of that low spinner. Had 10,000 RPM. Didn't even reach the green. Didn't even go 70. So not the best shot there, but we'll end the heel. Caught it a little clean. Let's see how we go here. I think I wussied out a little bit on the last one. We're zipping it back. We're zipping it back, that's for sure. So I get a little aggressive with it here. Got so aggressive, foot came out, launched it low. It's gonna spin a ton. Spun off the green. Okay. Look at the numbers here. First thing is launch angle. Pretty good, 29.4. Not bad. Descent angle. Take a look at that, 45.6, but there are some outliers here, 41.8, 42.9. If you kind of disable that one, you jump up to a 46.1, so perfectly fine there. Peak, 52, carry, 79, which I actually really like out of that. I was going for about 75. This was a 75-yard shot. Kind of wanted to hit that. Now, I will say with other wedges, I have found that I will hit them a 54 a little bit further. Now, there very well could be because of this number right here. That's a lot of spin, which is fine. I like that. That's kind of what you want, especially with a brand new wedge. Once it gets out on some grass, and really, these were the first shots I ever hit with it. I haven't hit it outside yet. So once it gets a little dirt on it and kind of dulls down those grooves that they are so proud of, just kind of flattens them out just a little bit. I would expect this to kind of drop down, that spin number to drop down closer to 87, 88. And that's going to increase a little bit of the distance. Overall, though, feels pretty good on the sim.
So with the RTZ, you do have some finish options. You have 3 finish options. You have the classic Tour Satin, which is a kind of brushed chrome finish. Looks great. Kind of a classic design there. Then you also have the black satin finish, which is an all-black kind of murdered out look. Great looking club in hand. It is going to wear, that black finish is going to wear off eventually and may pre-age your club a little bit. So if you're a little concerned with that, the black finish may not be the one for you. But they do have, the one that I chose was the RTZ Tour Rack finish. That is going to give you that raw look, that kind of raw steel look to it, but it isn't going to rust because of the new Z alloy, so that should help it look better longer. So I prefer the Tour Rack, that kind of raw look, so that's the one I went with. Now on each wedge, all 3 finishes, you have the option for a full sole, you have the mid bounce, you have a low bounce, and then you have the adapt with full face, which is a special grind. The full face brings grooves all the way across the face, and that's going to be available from 54 to 64 degrees. Then your low is going to be available in 58 to 62, and then your full and your mid are going to be fully available in every loft that they do make it. For my 54 degree, I did go with the mid bounce, kind of neutral attack angle. I use it more for fuller shots. If this was a higher loft of 58 to 60, something like that, I probably would have gone with the low or the adapt. But since I do take a few more half swings, 3/4 swings with this, I decided to go with the mid bounce level here. Really great V-sole. It works in all conditions for you. So yeah, that's the one I went with. But depending on the wedge, you might want to look at this. They do a great job on their website talking about the way it would fit you. So divot size, attack angle, things like that. And then if you get the Tour Rack, you do have some even more custom grind options. You can keep it standard. You can go a relief edge grind, which is it's gonna that back end of the sole, it's going to kind of grind that away. Maybe let you open up that face a little bit more. Some heel grind, easier to open up the face there. Heel and toe, gonna give you some options around the green. Gonna give you a little bit more there. And then you also have the S-shaped, which does look like it gives you a heel grind as well as the relief edge grind. So what they're saying is that's available on the full sole. Obviously, if you have a low, you can't grind too much off of it because you kind of run into a little bit of a problem there where you have no bounce. So you have that option. And then also a really cool thing that they do is you can actually get your leading edge ground the way you want to. So you can have a very sharp leading edge. You can have a very rounded leading edge. So you get a lot of options with these Clevelands, especially if you go with the tour rack options. So those are going to be some of your customization that you can do, whether it's the 3 finishes, whether it's the specialty custom grinds, whether it's the standard grinds, right? You have a lot of options here. So definitely go in, get them checked out, and find the right one for you. It's been a couple of weeks since I got the Zip Core. I did the review, took it to the course a couple of rounds, played a couple of rounds of golf with it. I've really enjoyed it so far. I think the new Z alloy is such a cool thing that they're doing. I love the way it feels. It actually does feel softer. It's very rare that a company claims something is softer and it actually is softer. So that's really nice. I love the finish. It does have that raw look, kind of. Outdoors, it definitely looks more raw than it did indoors when I was doing that portion. On the simulator, it gave pretty good numbers. Spin was crazy. Around the greens, it really shined. You saw some of the chips in out of the bunker. It was super easy to hit. So overall, I'm very, very impressed with it. I think it's one that if you need new wedges this year, you should definitely be taking a look at. Do I think that it's necessarily going to become the best-selling wedge ever? Don't necessarily know about that, right? You got to come strong if you're going to take down Mr. Vokey and what Titleist is putting out there. It's not to say that these aren't as good as the Titleist. They definitely are. In fact, they might be a little bit better. The way that they do their grinds, it's much simpler to understand than a lot of the letters that Vokey kind of throws out at you. But it is only $20 cheaper than a Vokey, and a lot of people are going to just go to the Vokey because they know the Vokey name. That's not to say that this wedge is bad. I am just questioning if it's going to be the wedge that takes it to the next level. Cleveland is doing some really, really good stuff with their wedges, and this is a prime example of it. I definitely think, like I said, that if you're in the market for new wedges, which you probably should be, this is a great option for you to try out. That's it for the review. I give it a great score. It is a great wedge that you certainly should not walk past. That's it here. If you have hit the RTZ, tell me what you think below in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that stuff. Everyone asks for it, but it absolutely makes a huge difference. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the review. Hit them straight.